What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai, an extension of Anime Senpai PH channel. All pieces of information are derived from the light novel. In today's video, we will end Chapter 5, Volume 7 of the light novel, entitled Holy and Demonic Collide. This video is the 6th and last part of Chapter 5 in our Tensura spoiler video series. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, feel free to check out the links in the description below. Now, let's get to the video. Hinata spoke and told Rimuru that she had a proposal to settle the battle with the next strike. She said she had a finishing move and intended to put all her power into it. If Rimuru could withstand it, he won, otherwise he lost. Hinata warned Rimuru in advance that this move was dangerous. Then she asked Rimuru if he was willing to accept the challenge. Hinata thought he would, and now that she has kindly provided this warning, Rimuru is no longer in danger of dying from the strike. It means Hinata can use it without any regrets. If she does kill him, the high-level magic born under him could turn into berserk menaces, striking at all humankind without prejudice. Then Hinata, with her strength exhausted, could be killed at once, followed by all her weakened paladin fighters. To avoid that, Rimuru needs to be kept alive. This move was called Mouth Slash, part of the Overblade family, and normally, she would prepare it on the sly and not let anyone notice it in advance. It was a combination of magic and swordplay, and its force was massive. There was no way to temper it in a feeble attempt to reduce its lethality. That's why Hinata could only rarely use it. She had reserved Mouth Slash only for foes she intended to kill. Hinata was frustrated because she had to reveal her finishing move to Rimuru, who could learn anything after only a single repetition. But so be it. Nothing else was holding her back. The only way to make Rimuru admit defeat was to show him just how overwhelmingly outclassed he was. Hinata must have been extremely confident about this finisher of hers. But it didn't make sense to Rimuru. He wondered why Hinata would give him advance warning. Raphael-sensei revealed to Rimuru that no desire could be detected on Hinata Sakaguchi's part to kill him. If Hinata was cautioning him, it indicated just how dangerous a move it was. Rimuru understood that Hinata didn't want to kill him, but something about this seemed kind of weird to him. Since it's too late to stew over it now, and there would be a lot more time later once he won this battle, Rimuru told Hinata that he accepted her challenge. Hinata smiled at Rimuru and said that she had thought he would. There was something really pure to that smile. It made Hinata look younger than her years. In fact, she could almost pass for being in her teens. It felt much more natural than the usual battle-hardened Hinata he was familiar with, because this wasn't some grin of cruelty and no derisive snickering. Maybe this was the real Hinata. Rimuru warned Hinata that no hard feelings after the battle, and if she lost, Hinata must promise to Rimuru that she would not mess around with the Tempest any longer. Hinata gave Rimuru a quizzical look and then nodded and shook off her indecision. Hinata said that she promised. She revealed that the reason why she had agreed to the duel was because Rimuru had requested it. She added that she wanted to discuss the future with him as well. Something Hinata said didn't seem quite right to Rimuru, so he asked Hinata to confirm it. Hinata nodded and said that she had received his message. Rimuru's message had started with a few polite greetings, then moved on to the topic of Shizue and the children stranded on this planet, in an attempt to ease their misunderstandings. In addition, Rimuru offered her a forum where they could discuss their issues calmly with each other. In the end, Rimuru capped it off with this: "So I hope you will agree to come to the bargaining table. But if I fail to convince you, I'll take you on. It can be you and me in a one-on-one duel, so nobody else will have to be involved. If possible though, I'd like to end this with verbal discussion, not physical distraction. So give it all the thought you need. And I'll be waiting for what will hopefully be a positive response. For now, see you later." Rimuru definitely wasn't gunning for a duel. It's just that Hinata was so stubborn that Rimuru figured he should throw that in, or else Hinata would tune the whole thing out. As Rimuru was pondering all this, Hinata had readied herself for the strike. They definitely still had some misunderstandings between them, but with things how they were, Rimuru could say nothing to stop her now. It was crazy how focused she looked. No words would ever reach her brain, but if Rimuru could hold out, he would win. It appeared that Benimaru and the rest had secured victory while Rimuru was busy. Some of them were lying on the ground, some seated, and few had the energy to do much else. Only Benimaru and Soe looked like they had any gas left in the tank. Even the 3 lycanthropers were as spent as the paladins. Rimuru guessed they had never gotten around to animalizing for this fight. The female knight Soe was engaged with seemed to be unhurt, but for some reason, she was looking at Soe and visibly blushing. She was even fidgeting nervously on her feet, which only added to the mystery. It was like the female knight had a crush on Soe or something. Rimuru wondered what was happening. They are supposed to be kind of all out in combat right now. Rimuru will need to inquire about that later. Then they had Shion, who must have totally stormed through her battle. She even had paladins meekly following behind her. Some of the prisoners looked wounded, but none fatally. A little recovery potion and they would be all good. Rimuru would need to dole out some praise for that performance. That just left Hinata and Rimuru, and they were just one attack away from wrapping up. Rimuru told Benimaru that if Hinata's attack knocked him down, Benimaru was taking his post. Benimaru responded no problem and encouraged Rimuru, telling that nobody among them would ever doubt his victory. Rimuru shrugged at his cheerful evaluation. Yes, he had people here that really loved him, unlike his stash of special videos that Rimuru kept in a hidden directory on his computer back home. This was one treasure he couldn't afford to leave behind, and Rimuru wasn't that irresponsible. He said alright and asked Benimaru to wait for his victory right there. Then Rimuru turned his gaze to Hinata. Looking around, it seemed like to Hinata the stage was set. She could see her exhausted squad mates nearby, but they appeared to be receiving better treatment than she had expected. Prisoner abuse must have been strictly prohibited. Judging by Rimuru's disposition, Hinata realized that she should have believed him from the start. The thought certainly took some time to occur to Hinata, but it was a sincere one. And it still wasn't too late because she could just win this fight and they could build a new relationship. She corralled her rising excitement and turned it into a prayer as she began to chant a spell in her clear voice. That wasn't strictly necessary, but she wanted to show it off to Rimuru. If he was going to steal it anyway, Hinata wanted to be sure Rimuru's copy was a perfect one. This was a disintegration spell, and now its force was gathered around Hinata's left hand and let out a blinding light. Glowing particles fluttered around it and created an otherworldly sight. And then Hinata imbued her moonlight sword with his mystical force, as if gently caressing the blade with one hand. Now everything was ready. Hinata's sword contained the strongest magic possible now, and there was nothing it couldn't slash through. Hinata asked Rimuru if he was ready for her mouth slash attack. Rimuru told her to bring it. Hinata, a glowing orb of light, lunged for Rimuru. It was a bright light, not the glint of a sword, but her entire body, with shiny particles shooting out of it, as she advanced at a superhuman speed. That went way beyond what Rimuru expected. The sword Hinata wielded had the power to dispel and evaporate all types of evil. Raphael Sensei reported in a terrified voice, "Report, unable to defend, unable to evade." Rimuru had never heard Raphael sound legitimately panicked before. Even with his senses enhanced a millionfold, the light looked like it was going at regular speed, a sign of just how fast Hinata was going. Between the distance, the angle, and the timing, Hinata was aiming below Rimuru's stomach. She must have figured Rimuru wouldn't die if his head stayed intact, but even if Hinata didn't intend to kill him, this move was way too dangerous. Rimuru couldn't evade it, and his multi-layer barrier was meaningless. That light was spiritual in nature, evil dispelling, and capable of tearing down anything it touched. The moment they made contact, that light would sear through Rimuru's body. Raphael Sensei suggested to sacrifice Rimuru's ultimate skill Beelzebub, Lord of Gluttony, to cancel out this attack. Rimuru knew that he could rely on old Professor Raphael at a time like this. As much as he hated to let go of Beelzebub, Rimuru didn't have much choice here. Out of all the suggestions it had, this was the most likely one to work, so there wasn't much point wavering on a decision. Raphael used Predict Future Attack to calculate the point Hinata aimed at, and activated Beelzebub at that exact spot. The moment her sword hit Rimuru, Beelzebub would swallow it all up, and after a few scant moments, Hinata's skill finally crossed paths with Beelzebub. Rimuru thought he wasn't going to survive for a second, but to his surprise, he did. Rimuru could hear Hinata's laughter ringing in his ears as he was lying there on the ground. All the magic heals in the area had been purified. Universal Detect wasn't working for him, and it made this the first time in a while that Rimuru heard using his actual eardrums. It was more an upsetting experience than a nostalgic one. Rimuru's body couldn't move. Canceling out Hinata's strike consumed a vast amount of magicules. In terms of damage, it probably wiped out over 70% of his store. But it's fine as long as Rimuru's alive. That attack was so scary that if Hinata blasted that out without warning Rimuru, just thinking about it made a chill run down his spine. Perplexed at Raphael's suddenly odd behavior, Rimuru decided to ask it a question, but the professor was silent and was likely hiding something. Hinata said she was impressed because Rimuru was able to take the attack full on. Hinata admitted that since Rimuru had taken it and lived, she lost, and it was like she couldn't fight beyond this. The protective light around Hinata disappeared and she was spent. Even that amazing sword of hers was gone and gobbled up by Belzebuth. Hinata could no longer offer any more resistance to anyone. Only her dignity was intact and her head held high as Hinata waited for Rimuru's reply. Rimuru responded that they would call it a win for him. The battle was over, but the problem hadn't been solved. As Rimuru attempted to declare victory over Hinata, he spotted something out the corner of his eye. Hinata noticed it too and turned toward it. Up ahead, coming their way was a large sword. Raphael Sensei revealed that thought interference and magical instability had been detected on target, and that it would explode soon. The target was a great sword itself. Rimuru wondered if it was an attack aimed at them, given that someone was interfering with it. Standing in front of Rimuru, Hinata screamed out that this were the depths 7 days would sink to. Rimuru was still immobile, and then the promised explosion. And then Rimuru could see Hinata's body slowly crumple. That's it for this video, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you will never miss the upcoming continuation of Tensura's spoiler video series. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the top 10 commenters on my previous video. Shout out to Joshua, Jan Lester, Jean Mahinay, Amirul F1, Melon, Scratch Good 3, Diablo, Peanut, Tarantulas Collective PH, and last but not the least, shout out to George ZP. I'll see you guys in the next video.